The first step of making the jig is finding the material to make the plate out of. I've already split this, but what it was some type of plastic that they make little wooden fences out of for the gardens and stuff like that. The best I ever found was plastic drain pipe that was 4 inches square, and you could split it and get 4 out of each section. So I mean each 12-inch section. So I've already made my plans for my cut here. I've split it in half, and you'll see at the top here I've drawn in some lines that I'm going to make future cuts. Also, while I'm on the bandsaw, I'm going to show you how I cut the foam. The foam comes in 2-foot by 3-foot sections, and a lot of different colors. I happen to like white and light brown, but I also have a lot of dark brown if I could just find some white ink to use with it. Anyway, I'm going to make some cuts here. Forgive the noise of the bandsaw. It's unnecessary evil of doing this. I'm going to turn on the bandsaw now and make some cuts. See if I can stay out of the picture. The first thing I'm going to try to cut is the foam. You see, I've put a little jig up here to keep it the right distance so that it fits perfectly into my grommet. Perfect little cut. Now I'm going to try to cut the plastic. Don't know how this is going to work out. I'll have to look and see later. But I've made my marks. Made my cuts on the plastic, and all I have to do is sand and round off the corners a little bit, and then I've got the perfect base for my weaving jigs. Also, remember, you're working with tools and equipment that could harm you, so use all the proper precautions and be very careful. Don't want to lose fingers, you need them for tying. Here we have some electrical grommets. They're nylon. They come in various sizes and shapes. They're meant to keep electrical wires separated, and we use them to keep our thread separated in the weaving jigs. You see they have little teeth like a comb all the way up and down. I get mine from a place called Nylon Molding Corp, but I buy them by the bag or box. There's probably thousands in each box, but you can probably find them at some really high quality stores that deal only in electronics. After I get them, of course, I cut them to the sizes that I need, whether I need a 100 thread jig or a 80 thread jig or a 50 thread jig. I cut them and then mount them on the plastic that I showed earlier. After I've cut them to the size that I want, I use the foam. The foam is sold by S.H. Barton's & Son. They're out of San Francisco. You can probably find them at some other specialty stores that deal with orthopedic shoes. It's actually used as a sole for orthopedic shoes. I cut it also to the size that I need for my jig. These are small pieces that I cut that are 10 threads in dimension, and I cut the foam to fit with it. I will later either epoxy or shoe goop or plumber's goop or even super glue these in place. Then I'll show you later how I cut each individual slit. Now I'm going to put the slits in the foam. It's really basically a very simple procedure. I take a razor blade. I like to use these ones with the hard back, and then I just cut it right in between each of the little grommet strips. What I'll do afterwards is every 5 holes, I'll make a line. That way I can number them later. It's not a difficult process, just very time consuming, just like weaving is. Pretty easy on the ones that stand up like this, the foam that stands up straight. It's not difficult with the other one either. You can see the slits there. Not difficult on this one either. Actually very easy to stay right in between the grommet teeth. Don't have as far to push down. And then I'll go ahead and take a Marks-a-Lot or a Sharpie. Grab a Sharpie here. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mark my line. And the same up here. And that's all there is to that part of the operation. Okay, we're going to go from another angle here. I probably change razor blades about every, I don't know, about every 200 cuts. Actually, occasionally I'll even try sharpening them on a ceramic stone. And that's what that's what it looks like. Well, it's time to finish up on how to make these weaving jigs. I've got my grommets prepared, cut, numbered, all ready to go. And then I also just finished up on making a whole bunch of bases. Now, if you're looking to see some giant formula for figuring this out, I'm going to tell you right from the get-go, it ain't rocket science. I basically have an inch on each side of the bend of the plastic, and I'll show you how I use that. No formula, just spitballing it. But they work. Looks like I'm ready to rock now. Again, like I said, this isn't rocket science. I'm not an engineer, no disrespect to engineers, but I like to keep things simple. That's the old Navy proverb, keep it simple, stupid. Anyway, basically the whole idea of the jig is to hold the threads and to keep them spread in the, while you're doing the weaving. And even though this is much wider than you need for almost any kind of weave, because you're wrapping on a tubular surface and because the wrap thread is going around, it tends to pull it all together. The hardest part is keeping the line straight. And basically it's where I spend all my attention at the beginning, is making sure everything's on the 0 axis or the 180 axis when I start my weave. Okay, here's the first jig. Get my super duper glue here. Hope it's ready. Put a little super glue on the bottom. And then I start in the corner and I go towards the center line. Now, because I'm making these jigs with 2 pieces, and the reason I'm doing that is because I have so many extra pieces of this short length that I decided I'd try to make the best of it. To hold it in place temporarily, I've made these, well, there's a penny super glued to a clamp. And I put that in place, and then I go part way up the piece and put another clamp. Okay? Because if you don't do that, sometimes it'll shift on you. Now I get the other piece that goes with it, and this most often only takes 1 clamp, and then I put it on there and try to get it right to the center line. Sometimes this doesn't work real easy for me. Sorry. Let's see if I can do it a different way. Don't know why it's being a pain today, but it is. Honestly, folks, it doesn't always work like this. Okay, there we go. Got it in place. I put it off to the side to dry. Then I grab my next one and basically do the same thing. As you can see, I'm basically eyeballing this. Too much coffee this morning. I dropped the other one on the floor here. Now for the one that's a pain. If you want to just sit there and hold it in place, it'll set up pretty quickly. But usually I like to move along and do other things. So, that's for that part. We'll come back on it in a second here. Now let's see if I can do the other side without having a bunch of jumping pieces. There's the first setup. Now what I'm going to do, got to make sure I got the right numbers here. I go all the way up to the end of the jig. Ha! Already dropping things. And I start by putting the little piece on first. I think the reason I offset it is I have found that it's easier to grab the threads that are up at the center of the jig, the center line of the jig. When they were both butted close together, those few threads were just a little harder to get to. Okay, that's that one. Unclip this one. Again, I'll go up to the top of the jig, right on the center line. This is all eyeballing again. So for any of you that were expecting some great formula, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Alright, there you go. Now after that dries, I'm going to show you a little trick. A lot of times I get messages from people that the jigs are starting to get a little loose. They're not holding the thread as tight as they used to. Well, I've come up with a little trick to fix that, and I'll show you how to do that, and I'll also give you a little offer of how to get some of the materials that I use to fix it. Be back in a second. Just some stuff in general about jigs. I didn't invent these things, by the way. The first time I saw a jig, in fact I was really reluctant about using them because I liked the old Nashua tape method. But the first time I saw it was in Florida. And a man named Cal Cheatham showed me his jigs, and then another man there named Stumpy had a model that was a slight variation of what Cal Cheatham had. They were flat jigs, and that's how I used to make mine at the beginning. Much the same put together as this, except that all the threads were forced in this area in between two pins. So I modified that, and then I went on to make this modification, which keeps the thread closer to the rod all the way around. Sometimes I think maybe a little too close. Then the other variation that came up was Jim Upton designed the 360-degree Wonder Weaver, which is great if you're going to be doing 360-degree weaves or weaves that are on more than one axis. So that's a little bit of the history of the jigs. I didn't invent anything. I'm kind of like a friend of mine who only invented anchovies. Anyway, now, the thing comes up is when we're using these, we're pulling thread in and out of these little slots. I don't know if you can see that, but we're pulling thread in and out. A lot of times, we're pulling them like a saw. Look at a twist on the thread. You know, it's kind of twisted like this. It's like a little saw, like a little ring saw. So it will start in time, if you're doing it that way, to wear a hole in the bottom. Personally, I like to put my thumb on the thread here in the middle and then pull it like this so that it comes up the whole length of the slot. But if you do wear a hole, we got an answer. This stuff's called living rubber. It comes in a tape like this, and what it is it's pre-scored. I don't know, let me put this against the white background. It's pre-scored, and it's just little living pieces of rubber. And what I do is, if there's a problem with the jig, I'll go up and I'll slide the rubber down the slot. Of course, these are brand new jigs, so there's not a problem. But I slide a rubber down the slot and then trim it off with a good sharp knife. I'm having a day here, that's for sure. With some kind of cutting instrument. And now that rubber is in that slot at the bottom, which keeps the thread from sliding out. So you can get this living rubber. Usually tackle shops carry it. I think it's called Hawk's living rubber. It comes in square pieces. These are square. It also comes in a round format. Same way, it's all kind of just held together until you shred it apart. Now, for those of you that have a dock ski jig, and you have that problem and you need some living rubber, anybody that needs some, I'll gladly send you free pieces. Just send me a pre-stamped self-addressed envelope to Dock Ski 1634 Lexham Avenue. That's Lexham Avenue in South El Monte, California 91733. And I'll throw 2, 3, 4 pieces in the envelope and ship it right back to you. Free. That's the best kind of price, right? Anyway, that's it for now. I'm not going to be making these jigs a whole lot longer. That's why I wanted to make this video. And when I do stop, I may publish this before I stop. I may not. But when I do stop, you'll have this video to make your own. Now, it's not the only way to make jigs, but it's a place to get started. And if you come up with a better mousetrap, please share it with all of us. Okay, thank you. Have a good day.